I caught her in the act. Right in front of me. Not in some hidden hotel room. Not through texts or late-night whispers. No, Emily had the audacity to do it right in my face, at her own work party. Her hand on his chest. His fingers grazing her waist. Their eyes locking like I wasn't even there. The guy? Brad. Her coworker. Some self-absorbed finance bro with a cocky smirk and a handshake that tried too hard. I played it cool for now. But the second his smug "I own this room" attitude turned toward me, I knew it was about to go down. Hey, man, Brad grinned, sizing me up. Emily tells me you're into boxing or something? Emily's nails dug into his arm, her fake laugh grating against my ears. Oh, babe, don't be shy. Brad does MMA. He's really good. Maybe you two should, compare notes. I exhaled slowly. So that's how she wanted to play it. Brad smirked. Think you could take me? I smiled back. Why don't we find out? And just like that, the whole party turned toward us. Brad's smirk widened like he thought this was some kind of joke. The guy was used to being the center of attention, used to people kissing his ass. But he had no idea who he was messing with. Emily clung to his arm, her fingers curling around his sleeve like she was his girl, not mine. That stung. More than I'd ever admit. Relax, babe, she cooed, her voice dripping with fake innocence. It's just a little fun. Just a little fun. I looked at her, really looked at her, and in that moment, something clicked. The way she avoided my eyes. The way she licked her lips. The way her body leaned toward him, not me. She was daring me. Brad chuckled and took a lazy sip of his drink. Tell you what, man, let's make it interesting. He pulled off his suit jacket, rolling up his sleeves, revealing toned forearms that had clearly spent time in a gym. The crowd around us grew, voices murmuring with anticipation. The office guys were grinning, the women whispering, Emily watching with something dangerous flickering in her eyes. Brad cracked his knuckles. Let's see if that boxing of yours is worth a damn. The tension was thick. I could hear the music thumping, glasses clinking, but all I could focus on was him. And her. She wanted this. She wanted to see me put in my place. Too bad for her. I wasn't the kind of guy who backed down. I took a step closer, rolling my shoulders, my body relaxed, but my mind already calculating. Brad thought this was just some cocky office sparring match. He didn't know that I'd spent years in the ring, that I'd taken hits from guys twice his size and walked away grinning. He threw the first punch. Big mistake. I dodged easily, stepping to the side, making him stumble forward. The crowd let out a sharp ooh, laughter rippling through them. Brad's face darkened. Emily giggled, but it wasn't at him. It was at me. Come on, babe, don't embarrass him, she teased, twirling a lock of hair. I clenched my jaw. Babe. She still had the nerve to call me that while standing next to him. Brad came at me again, sloppier this time, frustration leaking through his cocky exterior. I dodged, caught his wrist, and twisted just enough to make him wince. His face contorted in surprise. He wasn't used to losing. I leaned in. You should sit down before you hurt yourself. His nostrils flared. He yanked his arm back, his stance shifting, trying to prove he wasn't rattled. But he was. And then Emily did something that made my stomach drop. She laughed. Not at him. At me. Like this whole thing was some joke. Like she wasn't my wife, standing there with another man's scent all over her. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. This wasn't new. This wasn't harmless flirting. This was something deeper. Something that had been going on long before this night. My hands curled into fists, but not because of Brad anymore. Because of her. Emily leaned into Brad, her manicured fingers grazing his chest like it was the most natural thing in the world. She wasn't trying to hide it. She wasn't even looking at me anymore. Brad smirked, shaking out his wrist like he was still ready to go. But I wasn't focused on him anymore. My eyes were locked on my wife, the woman who was supposed to be mine, throwing herself all over another man like I was nothing. The realization burned through me like fire. This wasn't just some office flirtation. She wanted me to see this. She wanted to humiliate me. I let out a slow breath, forcing my hands to relax. If I lost control now, if I swung, I'd give them exactly what they wanted, a scene. A reason for her to twist this into being my fault. Emily finally turned to me, her lips curving into a taunting smile. You okay, babe? Her voice was sweet, sickeningly fake, but her eyes were gleaming with something else, power. That's when it all clicked. This wasn't about Brad. This wasn't even about some drunken office party. She wanted out. And she wanted to make sure I was the bad guy when it happened. Brad chuckled, slapping a hand on my shoulder like we were old buddies. Hey, man, no hard feelings. We're just having fun. Fun. I looked at Emily one last time, really taking her in. The dress, the hair, the way she kept touching him like I wasn't standing right there. I could almost hear the words in her head. Do something. Lose your temper. Give me a reason. Not tonight. I forced a slow grin and took a step back. Yeah, fun. Then I turned and walked away. I didn't need to see more. I already knew exactly what was happening. And now, I needed proof. I left the party without looking back, but every muscle in my body was wired with tension. I wasn't going to make a scene, not yet. Emily wanted me to explode, to lash out, to give her the perfect excuse to paint me as the jealous, unstable husband. No, I wasn't playing into her hands. Instead, I got into my car, gripped the wheel, and exhaled slow and controlled. My mind was already working through the possibilities. How long had this been going on? Was this the first time, or had I been blind for months? No, not blind. I knew something had been off. The late nights, the sudden shift in her attitude, the way her phone was always flipped face down, her screen lighting up with messages she was quick to swipe away. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through our messages. Normal, casual, too damn perfect. She was good, but not that good. I opened up a private browser and searched for a phone tracker. It took me less than 5 minutes to set it up. She'd never even notice. The moment she got into my car again and connected to Bluetooth, I'd have full access to her location. I drove home, my thoughts sharp and focused. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. An hour later, I was sitting in the dark when I heard her heels clicking against the pavement outside. She was home, later than she should have been. I watched through the window as she hesitated before opening the door, checking her reflection in her phone screen, fixing her hair, like she was making sure she didn't look too used. My jaw clenched, but I forced myself to stay calm. She walked in, dropping her purse on the counter like nothing happened. "Oh, you left early," she said, her voice light, like she wasn't wrapping herself around another man a few hours ago. I stayed seated, tapping my fingers against the table. Yeah, party wasn't really my thing. She smiled, slow and knowing. Really? I thought you'd enjoy it. You and Brad seemed to be getting along. The way she said his name made my skin crawl. I let out a small chuckle, tilting my head. You seem close with him. Something flickered in her expression brief, but there. Then it was gone, replaced by a lazy shrug. He's fun. Unlike some people. I let that one slide. For now. She walked past me, her perfume lingering in the air. But it wasn't just hers. It was his, too. And that was all I needed to know. Tomorrow, I'd have answers. The next morning, I woke up before her. I barely slept, but I didn't feel tired. Adrenaline was keeping me sharp. Emily was curled up in bed, breathing steady, looking peaceful, like she wasn't living a double life. Like she wasn't the kind of woman who could drape herself over another man while her husband was standing right there. I got up quietly, grabbed my phone, and checked the tracker. She'd gone somewhere after the party. Not home. Not a club. A hotel. My stomach tightened, but I forced myself to stay calm. The location pinged around 2 a.m., long after she should have been home. She stayed for an hour, then left. I had my proof. Now I just needed to see how deep this went. I got dressed and headed downstairs, making coffee like it was any other morning. A few minutes later, Emily came down, stretching like she didn't have a single care in the world. She kissed my cheek, casual, almost robotic. Morning. I let it happen, hiding the disgust curling in my gut. She sat across from me, scrolling through her phone. So, what's your plan for today? I looked at her, really looked at her. Did she feel guilty? Did she even care? Nothing. Just another day. I sipped my coffee. Got some things to take care of. She nodded, barely listening, too busy texting. Probably him. Probably Brad. I wanted to rip that phone out of her hands. I wanted to see the messages, the lies, the secrets. But I didn't need to not yet. She got up, stretching again. I'm meeting the girls for brunch. I'll be back later. Lie. I knew exactly where she was going. I leaned back, keeping my tone easy. Have fun. She flashed a quick smile and disappeared upstairs to get ready. As soon as I heard the shower running, I grabbed her purse. She never let it out of her sight, never left it lying around. But today, she slipped. I reached inside and pulled out her second phone. Burner phone. Locked. My pulse pounded in my ears, but I shoved it back inside before she could catch me. I had enough. She thought she was playing me. She had no idea what was coming. I waited until she left. Watched from the window as she walked to her car, phone in hand, probably texting him. She didn't even glance back. The second she pulled out of the driveway, I grabbed my keys and followed. She wasn't going to brunch. I kept my distance, careful not to get too close. The tracker showed her location updating in real time, and sure enough, she was heading straight to the hotel. The same damn place from last night. My hands gripped the wheel, knuckles turning white. Every second that passed, every turn she took, was just more confirmation of what I already knew. But knowing wasn't enough. I needed to see it. She pulled into the parking lot and parked near the side entrance. Like she'd done this before. Like she knew the routine. I parked a few spots away and watched. She got out, checked her reflection in the car window, fixed her hair. Then she pulled out her burner phone and typed something before tucking it back into her purse. A few seconds later, a black BMW pulled up. And out stepped Brad. He wasn't in his usual office suit. No, this time he was dressed casual, jeans, t-shirt, sunglasses. Relaxed. Like he had nothing to hide. Like he wasn't about to walk into a hotel with my wife. Emily smiled at him. The kind of smile she used to give me. Brad smirked, said something, and she laughed, too hard, too eager. Then she reached for his arm, just like she had at the party, and together, they walked inside. No hesitation. No guilt. I sat there, gripping the wheel so tight my fingers ached. My jaw clenched so hard it felt like my teeth might crack. But I didn't move. Not yet. Storming in now? That would be stupid. Emotional. That's what she wanted, an explosion, a meltdown, something she could twist against me. No, I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction. I pulled out my phone, opened the camera, and started recording. If she wanted to play games, fine. But I was going to win. I kept the camera steady, zooming in as they walked through the glass doors of the hotel. Emily didn't even check her surroundings. No paranoia, no second-guessing, just confidence. Like she knew she had me under control. Brad placed his hand on her lower back as they approached the front desk. She giggled, flipping her hair over her shoulder, completely at ease. I clenched my jaw, but I didn't stop recording. The receptionist barely looked up as Brad slid a credit card across the counter. Routine. This wasn't his first time doing this. Hell, I bet money it wasn't even their first time at this hotel. I caught the moment Emily leaned in, whispering something in his ear. His smirk widened. The receptionist handed them a keycard, and they disappeared down the hallway. I exhaled slowly, my pulse hammering in my ears. I had my proof. But I wasn't done yet. I stepped out of my car and walked into the hotel, keeping my expression neutral. The receptionist barely glanced at me. "Excuse me," I said, keeping my voice casual. "My buddy just checked in, Brad, tall guy. I forgot what room he's in." The receptionist hesitated. I pulled out my wallet, slid a crisp 100 across the counter. "I just need to drop something off for him." The hesitation disappeared. "Room 714, she muttered, slipping the bill into her pocket. I nodded, turned, and walked toward the elevator. My mind was eerily calm. No rage, no impulse to break something, just a cold, focused clarity. I wasn't here to catch them. I already had proof. I was here to end this. The elevator dinged, doors sliding open. I stepped inside, pressed the button for the 7th floor, and waited. The ride up felt like forever. When the doors finally opened, I walked down the carpeted hallway, counting the numbers on the doors. Then 714. I stopped in front of it, listening. Muted laughter. A low murmur of voices. The unmistakable rustle of movement inside. I pulled out my phone, hit record, and knocked. Silence. Then footsteps. Then the door cracked open just a sliver, Emily's face peeking out. The blood drained from her face the second she saw me. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. I smiled. Cold. Sharp. Final. Surprise. Emily's face went pale, her breath hitching. She looked like a deer caught in headlights, completely frozen. Then, just as quickly, she tried to compose herself, tightening her grip on the door and forcing a strained smile. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice a shaky whisper. I tilted my head, still recording. "Funny, I was about to ask you the same thing." She shifted, blocking the doorway with her body. I could hear movement inside, Brad's footsteps, the rustle of sheets, a muffled curse. He knew. Emily exhaled sharply, eyes darting behind her before locking onto mine again. "Listen, I can explain." I laughed. A low, humorless chuckle. "Yeah? Go ahead. Explain why you're in a hotel room with your coworker in the middle of the day." Her jaw clenched, panic flickering behind her eyes. She knew there was no way out of this. Then, like flipping a switch, she changed tactics. "You're acting crazy," she snapped, voice rising. "You're following me now?" Do you even hear yourself? There it was. The deflection. The classic turn it back on him strategy. I didn't bite. Instead, I just lifted my phone slightly, making sure she saw the red recording light. She inhaled sharply. Are you serious? You're recording this? I smiled. Just making sure I remember your explanation. That's when he spoke. Dude, just chill. Brad's voice came from inside the room. You're making a scene. I let out a slow breath, gripping the door frame to keep my hands from doing what they wanted to do. Emily turned, whispering something to him, before looking back at me, her face twisting into mock outrage. You have no right to invade my privacy like this. That almost made me laugh. Privacy? She cheated, lied, humiliated me, and now she wanted to play the victim? I stepped forward, lowering my voice. You want privacy? Then why'd you do this in a public hotel with a guy who can't even keep quiet? Brad cursed again. All right, man. Enough. And then the coward finally showed his face. He stepped beside her, still in his jeans, shirt slightly wrinkled. He ran a hand through his hair like this was just an inconvenience, like he wasn't standing in front of the man whose wife he'd been screwing. I stared at him. Long hard. He shifted. I saw it then, that flicker of doubt in his eyes. The realization that I wasn't here to yell and scream like some weak, heartbroken idiot. I was calm, and that terrified him. Emily must have felt it too because her whole demeanor changed again. Now she looked nervous, like she finally understood that this wasn't just going to go away. I took one last look at both of them, my grip tightening around my phone. Then I simply said, "We're done." Emily's mouth opened, but I didn't give her the chance. I turned, walked away, and left them standing there. Because this wasn't just about catching her. This was about making sure she never forgot who she underestimated. I walked out of that hallway, out of that hotel, and straight to my car. My hands were steady as I gripped the wheel, but my chest was burning. Not with sadness. Not even with rage. Just clarity. I finally saw her for what she was. A liar. A coward. A woman who didn't respect me enough to even hide it properly. I checked my phone, still recording. I stopped it, saved the video, and backed it up to the cloud. She wasn't talking her way out of this. She wasn't flipping the script. Not this time. My phone buzzed. Emily. Wait. Can we talk? I smirked. Now she wanted to talk? I tossed my phone onto the passenger seat and started the engine. Let her sweat. Let her sit in that hotel room, realizing she just lost the best thing she ever had. I drove home in silence, my mind already working through the next steps. I wasn't going to let this drag out. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me with fake tears and empty apologies. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I had a plan. First, I was taking everything. Emily had always liked to act like she was above me, like she was the prize. But the truth? The house, the cars, the vacations? All mine. My name on the mortgage. My money in the account. She walked into this marriage thinking she was untouchable. Now, she was about to find out what it felt like to lose. I stepped inside and headed straight for the office. I pulled up my emails, started drafting a message to my lawyer. No hesitation. No second thoughts. Halfway through, my phone buzzed again. Emily, can you at least hear me out? I stared at the screen, debating whether to even respond. Then, with a slow exhale, I typed back. Me, come home. Let's talk. Let her think she still had a chance. Let her walk through that door, believing she could fix this. Because the moment she stepped inside, she was going to realize. She wasn't walking back into her home. She was walking out of mine. Emily showed up an hour later. I heard her car pull into the driveway, the hesitant way her heels clicked against the pavement. She paused at the door, probably rehearsing whatever excuse she thought would work on me. I didn't move from my chair. I just waited. The door opened, and there she was. Hair perfectly fixed, expression carefully crafted, just the right mix of guilt and defiance. Like she was ready to lie but also prepared to flip the blame if needed. She closed the door behind her and let out a slow breath, placing her purse down. Okay, she said, crossing her arms. Can we be adults about this? I almost laughed. Adults? I leaned back, folding my arms. Go ahead. Explain. Her eyes flickered with hesitation. She wasn't used to this, me being this calm. She was expecting rage. A fight. An opening where she could twist things around. But I wasn't giving her one. She sighed dramatically, rolling her eyes. Look, I know how this looks, but you've been so distant lately. I felt unappreciated. I never meant for it to go this far. I nodded, as if I actually cared. So, you're saying it's my fault? She softened her voice, stepping closer, her hands reaching for mine. No, babe, I'm saying I needed you, and you weren't there. I pulled my hands back before she could touch me. Her face twitched for a second, her mask slipping. You needed me? I repeated, letting the words sink in. You needed me, so you went to Brad? She inhaled sharply. It wasn't. I grabbed my phone, tapped the screen, and hit play. The video started. The hotel entrance. Her laugh. The way she touched him. The key card. The door closing behind them. Her entire body stiffened. Her mouth opened, then closed. No words. No excuse. I let the silence stretch. Then I looked up at her and said, pack your things. She blinked, caught off guard. What? You heard me, I said, standing up. Your stuff. Your clothes. Your burner phone. All of it. Pack it. She let out a nervous laugh. Come on, you're being ridiculous. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. You lost, Emily. There's nothing left to talk about. The house? Mine. The bank account? Mine. Your reputation at work? I let that hang in the air. Guess who's getting that video? Her face dropped. You wouldn't, she whispered. I smiled. Try me. For the first time since I walked into that party, she looked scared. Good. She turned on her heel and stormed upstairs, slamming the bedroom door. A few minutes later, I heard drawers opening, the rustling of clothes being stuffed into a suitcase. I sat back down, exhaling slowly. It was done. She wanted to play games? She thought she could humiliate me? She just learned the hard way. I don't lose. Emily stormed down the stairs 20 minutes later, dragging a half-zipped suitcase behind her. Her face was twisted with anger, but beneath it, I could see the panic. She never expected this. She thought she had control. She thought she could lie, manipulate, play the victim, and I'd fall for it. Not this time. She yanked her purse off the counter and turned to me, spitting out her last pathetic attempt at saving face. You know what? You're not even a real man. A real man would have fought for his wife. I let out a slow, humorless chuckle. A real man doesn't fight for a woman who spreads her legs for another dude in a cheap hotel. Her eyes flared with rage. She lifted a hand like she wanted to slap me, but she stopped herself at the last second. Maybe because she saw the look in my eyes. Maybe because she finally understood she was nothing to me now. She let out a sharp exhale and grabbed her suitcase, yanking the front door open. The cold night air hit her, and for a brief moment, she hesitated. She was realizing what just happened. She didn't just lose her husband. She lost the house, the security, the life she took for granted. She stepped outside, then turned back, desperation creeping into her voice. You're really doing this? I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. You already did. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. No more excuses. No more games. I reached for the door, locking eyes with her one last time. Then, without another word, I slammed it shut. Silence. For the first time in months, the house felt peaceful. I exhaled, rolling my shoulders, feeling a weight I didn't even realize I'd been carrying finally lift. I walked back to the kitchen, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and sat down. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Brad, yo man, let's be cool about this. No need to ruin careers over a woman. I smirked. The audacity of this guy. I tapped out a response. Me, check your email. I hit send. 5 seconds later, another text. Brad, WDF man, are you serious? I took a slow sip of my beer, watching the 3 little dots appear as he typed, then stopped, then typed again. Yeah, I was serious. Emily wanted to play games. Brad wanted to play along. They both just learned something the hard way. I don't play, and I sure as hell don't lose.